What is one thing that has changed the world for the worst? Story 1. Discovering oil, or rather not moving on from oil due to the vast influence and profit it brings. I imagine we would be so much further ahead on renewable energy, maybe a less grim picture on global warming, less destruction and pollution done to the earth. Story 2. It's a toss-up between social media and giving everyone a voice. There once was a time not too long ago when we told people to shut up and sit down sometimes. We all need to be told no, and we can't always have a slice of the pie. It's just reality, unfortunately. Story 3. People not caring about grammar and proper syntax. I get that with friends, no one should ever care as long as you and the recipients get what you're saying. However, in most people's daily life, including this post, people constantly use the wrong words that are similar, and no one ever notices or cares. I care so much because our entire history as a species is built on the foundation of the written word and clear communication. What is one thing that had changed the world for the worse? Story 4. Social media giving anyone and everyone a soapbox. I believe it has increased bullying, discrimination, division, and mental health problems exponentially. It can be good, but I think the bad far outweighs the good. Story 5. Subscriptions and TOS. Nothing you buy nowadays that you can say you own, and you can't get any kind of service without providing your own information so they can use it or sell it. Sooner or later, we're going to get deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. For example, you're going to pay for the service, then they'll double dip on it, and the service got tons of advertisement. They'll make sure it sucks so you'll upgrade. And you have to pay additional cost to remove ads. And after that, you have to pay additional amount for each user who uses it, and pay more when they notice that you're using their service outside your home. They can monopolize the services and the prices. Story 6. Don't go after me, but I think it's Trump mainly because he brought out the crazy America-type folk that take everything way too far. Also the fact that he said if he gets elected again that he will reeducate people with the values of the nuclear family, which literally means that he wants to reeducate people to not be LGBTQ+ or have unique families, when literally you can't change if you gay, because it's a simple thing of your natural attraction and not something you can decide to be. Story 7. Killing is not seen as a bad thing anymore, it seems. I remember not long ago, any genocide was bad. Today, half of the world is celebrating some sort of war or genocide, and the other half is doing exactly the same but on the opposite side. I can't understand why is that. Story 8. Diet culture. Too many food rules creating unhealthy habits resulting in eating disorders. Biologically feed your body nutritious food, hitting all food groups, and the rest will fall into place. Fuck diet culture. Story 9. Social media. I got rid of most. Kept Reddit and YouTube, but I couldn't do Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok anymore. Used to keep me occupied for hours, but I just kept feeling the need to argue with nearly everything I saw. Not debate, just straight argue. Since I deleted them, I feel more clear-headed and, frankly, sane. Sure, I'm not up to date on the recent trends or whatever, but I'd rather be content with how I feel than know what everyone else is talking about. Story 10. Social media. 2,000 years ago, the Greeks and Romans were memorizing entire books, spoke multiple languages, and were industrious. Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin could read, write English, French, Latin, Greek, and a couple others. The internet seems to be primarily used for entertainment now, at the expense of our intelligence. I'm 33. I have seen the progression of Game Boys and PlayStations and Blockbuster and streaming services. I've seen bookstores cleared from entire cities. Story 11. Intentionality. On the surface, this seems great. I get to choose exactly what I watch, what I listen to, what I read. What it really means is that we have to make choices, and discovering new stuff is much less serendipitous. We get recommended stuff that's similar to what we already like. So if we listen to mostly hip-hop, we won't be exposed as much to other stuff like metal, jazz, or what have you that we may end up loving. Decision fatigue. We have long queues of stuff we have show interest in, and suddenly it takes us a shit ton of time to decide what to watch, listen to, read. TikTok is better in that you don't decide. It just shows you. But the problem there is #1. Because of all of this, we are less open and exposed to viewpoints and people that are outside our normal experience. Story 12. Paying people for social media content. The internet used to be so much more fun before money got involved. Now that people are getting paid for their posts and videos, nothing is genuine or authentic anymore. Instagram used to just be a fun online scrapbook. Photos and videos are all staged now instead of just being, here's the fun time I had at the beach. YouTube used to be a fun, creative space to create and upload entertaining videos. It was also great for finding out which products actually worked as they said they should, when people honestly just wanted to show how it worked for them. You could trust their opinion because they did the video just because they felt like it. Now everything is sponsored, and they're so obsessed with every goddamn product. Now I'm right back to being highly skeptical. Everything is made with the intention of getting likes and views. If you wanted to make money off of being fake, you used to just go become an actor or model or presenter. Now we're rewarding people for desperate attention-seeking behavior and misleading others while pretending to be an everyday person. It was simply a fun online hangout before. Sigh. Story 13. O.J. Simpson going free despite the fact it's glaringly obvious he's a violent double murderer and always was. Hello 24-hour news cycle. Hello Kardashians. Hello Shapiros. Hello death of faith in the justice system. All of them started when that murderer walked free. Story 14. Plastic. It made life for humans better in the short term, but it has and is still destroying the planet, causing mass extinction events, polluting every square inch of the planet, and infiltrating every part of the ecosystem. It's floating around in the bodies of everyone reading this right now. Story 15. The obsession with heavily scented everything, from cleaning products to air fresheners to candles to essential oil diffusers to all kinds of laundry products. My asthma gets triggered by so much, and now I can't even stay in Airbnbs or even hotel rooms because of the laundry crap in use. It's madness. It's killing me, and who knows what all that scented trash is doing to the planet. Story 16. The demise of the FCC's fairness doctrine. Everyone saying that Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather were trusted aren't understanding that they were required to present both sides of an argument. Today, news isn't news, it's propaganda. People aren't presented both sides and allowed to come to their own conclusions unless they're actively searching out the opposing views, which is rare. Story 17. Everyone whining about social media. But honestly, the worst thing are atomic bombs. The whole atmosphere is polluted by radiation from testing them and from those that were used. Atomic bombs are still a threat and a sword of Damocles above our heads. We can learn to cope with social media. We can learn how to handle all these information. But there is nothing the vast majority of people can do to avoid getting into the fallout of atomic bombs if someone wants to start. Story 18. In the US, the allowance of prescription medication commercials, they are insanely absurd, and your doctor should be advising and asking questions of you, not the other way around. We're a drug-riddled society now with a dependency and easy fix for every problem we have, and no one is focusing more on diet and exercise, which can fix most issues. Story 19. They have made everything convenient, but we have now found microplastics in our blood, in our organs, in our bodies. Even people who don't live in big industrial cities have microplastics, because it's all in the water now. They're in baby fetuses. Every baby born has microplastics in their body, and there is no way to remove them, or know the extent of how badly this is going to fuck us in the future, health-wise, and there are already many health issues we do know about. Story 20. I've scrolled so much here, yet not a single mention of the oligarchs, corporations, and politicians who are actually benefiting the most from all the things that everyone here is outraged about. I'd add a sigh emoji, but this was the closest I found. Story 21. Ironically enough, better medical care and human rights. Now people get to choose how many kids they want, and are kept alive until all systems fail at once. So nice countries, and increasingly all countries, have lots of shuffling geezers and hardly any healthy young people. Story 22. Capitalism. It got worse through time simply because people allowed it. I study vehicle engineering, and a lot of changes made to cars are just pure consumerism pushed by large corporations. Clutch is the prime example of this. It's easy to make the friction disc modular, it's easy to change it every now and then, but manufacturers now make the whole clutch weaker, so it can all fall apart at some point, and you have to change the whole clutch, making the expense much, much bigger and producing insane amounts of waste. Or they might integrate the friction disc in such a way it's impossible to change it without scrapping the whole clutch. If anyone here is older, he can recall just swapping the friction disc on their cars. However, me, 21 always assumed you have to change the whole clutch. Also odd on some cars is just a major facepalm, yet people, including me before, get so excited about it. Using an odd/4x4 car when you live in a city is just waste of fuel, money, and in some cases, even performance. The amount of power you need in order for power on rear wheels to make a difference is vastly larger than the power of soccer mom's SUV. The amount of waste produced in the production of these cars is just insane. But hey, Your pickup can overcome any curb in the city. Story 23, Wikipedia. Now some 2-bit gum chewer can totally school me on the intentions, motives, logical failings, and outright horror of the NSDAP, which they think they know a lot about because they talk about it all day. It would behoove them to actually read and have complex ideas in their minds, instead of relegating a highly complex and logically and morbidly bizarre political hybrid, such as the NSDAP, to a third-grade reading level. Yeah, they were horrific. But you can't just go throwing that word around. It's like the boy who cried wolf. Eventually, no one takes you seriously, and the wolf comes in smiling, picking your pockets as it hugs you, and you feel all giddy and excited that they are so caring. Then they're in Poland and all hell breaks loose. Story 24. Donald fucking Trump and all of the elitist, misogynistic, lying BS that has infected us not only in the US but globally. Complete disregard for science, humans in need, and anything that does not feed his ego or wallet. He demands loyalty, but does not return it. He's normalized lying to a sickening degree, and has brought along a boatload of sycophants that are governors, senators, congressmen, judges, mayors, and more. He is a blight, a cancer, and the worst thing to happen to the world since the Black Plague. I have no problem with Republicans or conservatism, just him. And Biden is marginally better only because he does not come with the amount of garbage that Trump does. Both are bad for the country, but Trump is bad for all humanity. Story 25, Social media. When people can spew hateful words indiscriminately and anonymously with few consequences, it just allows more hate to grow, and it can really negatively impact people's lives. Before, when people had an issue, they had to keep it inside or say it to the person in question. Now they can be jerks from behind a screen. It just gets out of control and people can get really hurt, or in turn, hurt others. It just keeps going and it's getting worse. Story 26. Publicly traded companies. The idea was that the everyday person was able to have the opportunity to invest in companies. The reality is that these companies now are so beholden to shareholders, they only care about profit. Everyday people need to invest or their money won't grow fast enough. Companies don't offer the stability or pensions they used to because they need to keep increasing profits for shareholders. Story 27. AI seems to be well on its way to fucking shit up. Just today, an investigation by journalists revealed that a chatbot on the New York City website is pumping out wholly false information which, if acted on, would mean visitors to the site would be acting illegally. People need to understand that chatbots are just Google that assembles information into reasonable-looking sentences. There is no quality control. Story 28. I'll bite on this one. AI generative software. Not just from a fact-checking or disinformation stance, but as an artist, I really don't like the direction we're headed in, and it honestly doesn't have much to do with jobs for me. The reason generative AI works is because it's based on consensus. It figures out, mathematically, which pixels go where and what forms lead to other forms, weighted by being trained on millions of artworks. Without said artist's consent, mind you. It does this based on what the algorithm has judged to be aesthetically pleasing. So we basically have a piece of software whose entire job it is to grind up popular culture aesthetics, rearrange them and present them to us. The more we rely on this software to tell us what we like to look at, the less people will form opinions of their own. What we are looking at is nothing more or less than the death of holistic creativity, and it really fucking bums me out. I hate looking at a fucking ad in a magazine and trying to figure out if it's some artist with a vision or some clump of tech bro code feeding me generated sludge. Story 29. Social media for sure. As stupid as this is, addiction is real. I know I have it and am embarrassed to admit it. Why is addicting honestly? It's boring as hell, but I just doom scroll and don't really know why. I think it's a tool that can be used right if you're a mentally healthy person, but it can also get out of hand really quickly. The requiring engagement thing, and things like building Reddit karma to post in certain subs, a lot of them TBH, are just designed to make you addicted. I mean, I get it, they want to filter out all the crap, but things like karma aren't really the best way to do it. Plus, almost every algorithm very quickly caters to things you click on. Makes sense, right? Well, that can evolve into a rabbit hole of negativity. I'm trying to improve this, honestly, mostly by hiding subreddits I find to be negative. But yeah, as a depressed pessimist, that stuff just finds me and the cycle starts again. Ugh, there are positives to it. I love seeing other people's art. I enjoy scrolling on Instagram for that. Love watching people paint. It's so relaxing, and it doesn't feel like a waste of time to me. There are problems with Instagram like getting noticed, but I'm a casual user, so I don't fully feel them. I just like sharing my own art with my friends and family. Facebook is a cesspool and I very rarely use it. YouTube is technically social media, but I use it for entertainment, so I don't really find this one problematic aside from drama sometimes, which I haven't run into lately. I mostly watch Pokemon or horror content or listen to music, though. Story 30. The insane accumulation of power and wealth. If humans wouldn't be so mad greedy, the world would be a better place. The mere fact that super rich people exist is the root cause for most problems on the planet. I don't say that with any political intent, since I'm no follower of any ideology or religion. It's just a fact. Billionaires shouldn't exist. Story 31. Reality TV. I'm in my early 40s, but I do remember a time when reality TV was niche and you had to tune into only certain channels to watch. Fox for cops and MTV for the real world, etc. Now it's on every channel platform and has completely taken over channels meant for other purposes. MTV/VH1 for music, the History Channel for actual history, etc. This also paved the way for people being famous just for being famous, social media influencers, etc., and all the negatives that come with that. The world wasn't perfect before reality TV, but it has gotten so much worse because of it. Story 32. Education. Surprisingly, education the way it is, at least in USA, takes away from creative and critical thinking and dulls the mind. We used to sit and think about theories and calculations and be curious about the world around us and how things work. Now we don't do anything, and few of us have the urge to learn something new. I personally got up and decided to learn more about stocks and options, for example, learn new apps, learn about AI as it blew up, and more. But most people, in my experience, don't have a curiosity or a thirst for knowledge and intelligible discussion. Story 33. Here are several things, in the order they happened and how they all manifested each other. The eradication of the Fairness Doctrine by Reagan in the 80s. The provisions in the 1996 Telco Act that allowed media companies to consolidate more power. The 24-hour hate networks that popped up as a result of #1 and #2. The Republican Party's normalization of fascism, narcissism, racism, and disrespect for logic, reason, evidence, and history. You could say, the eradication of the Fairness Doctrine is the linchpin that caused everything from global climate change to anti-vax/anti-science, 21st century fascism, and the eroding of America's respect in the world. Once the mainstream media no longer had to allow people with opposing viewpoints equal time, this paved the way for money to determine what is and isn't broadcast to the world. Imagine if, every time Fox, OAN, Newsmax, or other networks told a lie, they were compelled to give somebody equal time to debunk that lie, or else they'd lose their broadcast license. That's what the Fairness Doctrine did, and why the Republicans had to destroy it. Story 34. Social media. I'm so tired of hearing people complain about someone not being their friend, or being an asshole because they didn't comment on their post or put a little heart JPEG on their picture. It's so dumb that people measure friendship in that way. And a special thanks to TikTok. I've heard the shit that's on there from my wife being on it, and oh my god, UTF. So many videos about how the earth is flay. It's the end tiles, so Bible up. Biden is not real because of his facelift. Trump is the Antichrist. The solar eclipse will destroy our electricity for China to attack, and then the rest is just a bunch of celebrities having drama for views, and all they do is fight because for some reason that's what people want. And then that one guy who believed that Missouri is really where ancient Egypt was. Story 35. The overvaluation of excessive delegation. Not that big business hasn't been around for a long time, but small businesses were historically much more prominent. People sometimes say a business only exists to maximize profit, but that's just not true. Businesses can have all kinds of goals, like facilitating certain lifestyles, setting work hours, serving the community, providing learning experiences, etc. Small businesses used to be the way most people found their place in the world, whatever that entailed. Nowadays, even most of what we call small businesses are essentially agents of large corporations. If they're not outright franchises, then they're beholden to corporate suppliers and market forces. One of the primary ways big corporations achieve efficiency is exploitation. For a corporation to generate profit, it must pay workers less than the value they produce. Again, some people say this applies to every business, but that's just not true. If you walk into a family restaurant, for example, yes, the owners might be profiting, but there's a good chance the family is in the kitchen working their tails off. Their profits are in line with what they would pay employees to do similar work. In a typical large corporation, however, the shareholders don't work for their profits. And I would argue that while managers do perform lots of busy work, they aren't productive in the same sense as low-level employees and are generally overpaid as a whole. So what you end up with is a society full of people extracting profits from businesses without producing any of the raw value. This manifests in several ways. For starters, there are huge swaths of the population that do most of the real work but remain underpaid. You know who they are. They're the low-wage, blue-collar workers, often immigrants or other underprivileged groups. But even ignoring pay inequality, everything seems to be getting more expensive and worse quality at the same time. I went to a mechanic, franchise of a national chain, recently with a pre-booked appointment for car service. The guy at the desk waited until I was all checked in to tell me the technicians were all out, and they might need to hold my car till the next day because he didn't know when they would be back. Similarly, how common is it now to show up at the gate for a flight only to discover there's no crew, and the flight has to be canceled? How often do you buy a video game at release and it's completely broken, but still asks you to buy a bunch of loot boxes? How often do you go to check out at big box stores and most of the lines are out of service and nobody knows how to fix them? Or they can't open the anti-theft cabinets to let you buy a stick of deodorant after 30 minutes of waiting? How is it that the executives of these companies can make hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, yet they will never step foot in a store to assist a customer with basic issues like these? Shoot, if I were the CEO of Walmart, I'd fly on my private jet to all the stores and check people out myself to save them time. And therein lies the rub. Too much of society just isn't willing or able to do that. We're a society of no responsibility to anyone but ourselves. We delegate real work to the poor and then demand all the fruits of their labor for ourselves. At least if executive compensation and shareholder returns were kept low, one could argue the savings are being passed on to the customers. But now McDonald's wants like $1.15 for a meal because they need quarterly everything to go up all the time for no additional work, because I guess the CEO deserves another yacht for never flipping a burger or fixing a dang ice cream machine for crying out loud. It's no wonder nothing works anymore.